Okay, so we've been talking about strings and how we can use strings within a Python environment. Now we're going to talk about indexing those strings. So this is very interesting and will keep us aware of all of the functionality that we actually have. There's some differences in Python that perhaps will take a little getting used to, but once you got it, you got it. It's pretty easy. We know now that a string is a sequence, and so we can index using Python indexing notation, which is just like indexing notation in R, if that's familiar to you. So S is a string, let's assume. I don't care. We can make it A, B, C, D, E, like below. Then S of 1 is going to extract the ith character from the string, but we have to be very, very careful because I is greater than or equal to 0 here. I think I was saying that I has to be bigger than or equal to 0. Sorry, I was interrupted. So what does that mean? Well, the first character of a string has index 0 and not 1. That's different than, say, R. So just be aware of that. We can use a negative index to extract a character beginning from the right. So that's really useful if you know you need to get like the second to the last character, then you use -1, for example. Or the very last character actually would give you -1. -2 would give you the second to the last, and so forth. So let's see. S is A, B, C, D, E. Then S of 0 gives you the first. B is in 1. -1 is the last. -3 is going to be that middle. What else could we use besides -3? +2. Why, yes, you can. You could put in +2 and get it. So there's, going to be multiple ways you can reference the individual values within the string. Okay, so the slice syntax allows us to get a segment of characters from that string. So I:(j) extracts the characters beginning at I and ending at but not including j. That's really important. We'll test this out in a moment to make sure we drive that point home here. What I index up to j actually means here. All right, so let's see. If we leave out that first index, Python defaults to using index 0 to begin the slice. Okay, so you could just do :j, and you're going to get everything up to, but not including j. Similarly, if you leave out the second index, it'll default to the length, the end of the slice. The length of S is programmatically how you get that end of the slice. So therefore, S with neither the end or the beginning specified, but just a colon in between, gives a copy of the entire string. Okay, so make use of this. If you know you need to chop off the last 3 or extract the last 3, you can make use of this and think, how do I do this? Where you could have like varying lengths of a string and still always extract the last 3 characters or something. You can be tricky about it like that. You can also use negative indices when you're using this I and j slice notation. So let's try this out. If your character string is Lost Vikings, what would be extracted if we use this? So think 5. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to start right after that. Okay. -1, what does -1 give you? Well, it's going to take off that S. So I think this is my prediction. I might need to check this just to be sure, because I all the time get loopy in my thinking because I wanna think like R when I do this. But I think it's going to be C. If you think it's going to be D, try it out. But I think it's going to be C. Now this one I want you to bring to class. So 1, 2 at the beginning, -6. So you're counting from the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I think I know what it is. It's not going to be something you can pronounce. I'll just give you a hint. Okay, bring that to class and we'll talk about it. -6, okay, so -6 is still that same value from before. But then we're going to 11. So what do we get less left? And what is 11, by the way? Is that the end? We'll count it and see. Okay, so if it's the end, we might get something like that. If it's not, we might get something like that. Okay, so the method is a function specific to one type of an object. So this is just, again, artifact that Python is using object-oriented type concepts here. Methods are called using the object being referenced or used here with the method. So it's always object dot method. All right, so again, this is a little different if you are coming from the R programming world. Let's say S is a character string that says high class, okay? Notice class is all capitalized. High is capitalized on just the first letter. So S dot lower is correct here. If we just do lower S, that's more like what we do in R, right? So this is wrong. This is thinking like R, which I will make mistakes in this probably when we're working in class because this is my default thinking, and this I have to be more thoughtful about. But it goes object method in Python, object method. There's nothing to include within the parentheses. Don't even try because you'll get an error message if you try that. Okay, I'm pretty sure you would. So let's move on and think. Okay, so you can use directory string to get a list of all the possible string methods. Let's do that in class just to look at together. Help string X to help getting a method on whatever your method's called. So it could be, you know, lower, for example, or what we just saw. Then s.find will return the index of the first occurrence of the substring in S, starting from the left or -1 if substring is not found. All right, so just try that out if that doesn't make sense to you. It's a pretty simple thing though. sReplace returns S, but with all occurrences of old replaced by new. We're going to take a look at this in just a moment. scount is going to count the number of times a particular substring occurs. So you'd have to name what that substring is, just like you do in the old versus new or the substring here, right? Starts with is going to return true exactly when it starts with that. So bioinformatics people, I think a lot of these would be really super helpful to you. Ends with, same idea, except ends with. Okay, so MISSISSIPPI, Mississippi. We're going to try, remember I told you, I promised you we were going to try that one out. Replace. So s.replace. So here's our object, S. So S is not part of the function or method name. The method name is replace. Our object is S. Okay, we're going to take, remember it goes old, comma, new. So we're going to take every instance of SS and replace it with an A. All right, so I believe, let's count Mississippi. I think it's 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes. So Mississippi should be 11. Okay. But if we run and save the length when we do this replacement and replace each SS with just a single A, so it'd be Ippy, whatever that is, not a word. What are we going to get back? Okay, so notice first of all, it's a length expression. So are we going to get back a number? Well, probably. Is it going to be 11? Try it out and see. My prediction is no. In fact, I think none of these are going to be right. Be able to explain why none of these are right when you come to class. Okay, here's another little test. Center, so again, here's our method, there's our object. So it's something, a method or function in Python that operates on a character string. And what is it going to do? It's going to return S centered in a string with a certain width. And the padding is done by a specified fill character. Okay, so it doesn't give you help actually on the arguments. It doesn't explicitly give it that to you here. This is just from the help function within Python. However, we can kind of figure this out here. Here is the length of the string. So we went back 8 for our length. Our padding variable is going to be an X. Our original object, we're going to just very directly reference it. We could name this like S, like we did before, and say S is this character string cave, but you don't even need to do that in case you don't really care to. This is more direct, and then you don't have to store an object with a character string that you probably don't want to keep, okay? So we're padding cave here by putting it in the center of a string 8 units long and padding it with X's, okay? So notice this is already 4, so we're going to have to add 4 X's, and it'll be in the center. So if we have 4 X's, we might have XX here, XX here. Notice that looks just like this, A. I predict A is going to be correct. We can test it in class. The rest of these, this could be useful if you think it's going to be 4 on each side, but that doesn't give you back a character string of length 8, so that can't be right. This, you're just getting empty space. Now, this one looks right if we just had empty space here. We could pad cave with empty space, but that's not what we've got here. So it's important to point out strings are immutable, which means we can't change them. They just look like they're changing a string, but they're not really changing. They're kind of creating a new string, in fact, and you have to be explicit for it. So notice if we ran this set of code, you might think we're making test uppercase where we get this, but we're not. It's actually creating a new object here. It's not changing the original S. So then if we print S, it's just going to look all the lowercase, okay? How would we get it to store it as an object? Well, let's think about that. We're going to see that in just a moment. So we could have shared references in strings as well. So let's say A is high, B is A. So they both point to the same shared object or reference for the objects. But then if we change A to buy, it doesn't change the value of B, it only changes the value of A. Okay, so don't over assume what is happening when you make these kinds of changes. And this, I am assuming here that I've done these in this exact sequence. So A equals high, B equals A equals buy. So now we have high, buy, B, A. Now to address the point of how would we store it where it tests to say uppercase? Well, let's do this. A is high, B is A. So right now they're both referencing the same character string, right? Little case high. But then if I resave A, so notice I'm explicitly storing it in the object A and do the upper function, now A points to uppercase high. B still points to lowercase. So notice how we combined this with this to finally get to that concept of reassignment of values. Okay, that's enough for this indexing strings business. And we'll pick back up next time.